JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now onto the news. Businessman abducted by armed men in Westmoreland, the normally quiet community of Darlington in Westmoreland, was left tense and in shock following the alleged abduction of a well-known businessman at gunpoint in the area on Tuesday. The businessman has been identified as Gavin Myers, who has been operating a car mart in Darlington for more than half a decade. Reports say that Myers received a call from someone who allegedly wanted to do business. However, Myers was ambushed when he arrived at his place of business. Reports indicate that sometime around 6:30 a.m., Myers was standing by his Audi vehicle on the main road when an employee opened the gate to the property. It was at this point that the businessman was approached by gunmen who forced him into a vehicle. They reportedly fired a shot into the air before speeding away with their victim. At the scene, most people knew him, were afraid to speak and identify themselves. They say that they do not know whether the incident was carried out by the police or by gunmen. "We're just sitting here, contemplating and hoping for the best," stated a woman. A man who also knew Myers said that he was someone who would support community events. He said the incident on Tuesday was not the norm in the community. The search by the security force for the businessman and his abductors continues. Mechanic succumbs to gunshot injuries. Police investigators have upgraded a case of shooting to murder after the victim succumbed to injuries suffered in an attack more than 2 weeks ago. 39-year-old mechanic Dwayne Dakers died at the Kingston Public Hospital on Monday. According to reports, about 9:30 p.m. on June 5, Dakers was shot and injured by unknown assailants in 12 miles, Bull Bay, St. Andrew. His attackers fled and was later transported to hospital. The Yallah's Criminal Investigation Branch in St. Thomas has launched a probe into the matter. Search resumed saw a boy washed away in Westmoreland drain. Search and rescue efforts continued on Tuesday for 11-year-old Desroy Smith Jr., a 5th grade student of New Hope Primary and Junior School, who was swept away by swift waters during heavy rains Monday afternoon. The tragic incident occurred about 2:30 p.m. when Desroy attempted to cross the flooded drain near the school compound. Reports indicate that he slipped and fell into the swift-moving water, which emptied directly into the Caribbean Sea. Efforts by classmates and a nearby ice cream vendor to rescue him proved unsuccessful. On Monday afternoon, the Westmoreland Fire Department was on site with a truck and crew, prepared to assist with CPR and a land-based recovery if necessary. Acting Superintendent Asif Burgess said the Jamaica Defense Force Air Wing had deployed a helicopter to conduct aerial sea searches, while the Jamaica Fire Brigade remained on standby. Information we received from another firefighter in the community was that a child had gone missing in swift waters leading to the sea, Burgess explained. "We got here about 4:45 p.m. A pumper had already arrived, and I took charge of the scene when I arrived at 5 p.m. While the fire brigade remains present for land-based support, the marine area will be managed by the Coast Guard of the JDF. The Coast Guard arrived at approximately 6 p.m., but the search had to be called off an hour later due to poor lighting conditions. The incident has left the White House community in mourning. A female resident, who did not wish to be identified by name, said Desroy Smith Sr. lost another son last September in a diving accident. "This a go hard for him," she shared. "September coming will make 1 year since him lose him big son. Me call him but me can't get him, but me hear him upon the sea helping with the search. The force where the water come down will drag him off of the side and I saw him wash away," the witness stated. A female student reportedly warned Desroy not to go, but he allegedly ignored her pleas. The child's mother and sister were both rushed for medical attention due to shock and distress. The family had recently buried another relative less than 2 weeks ago, compounding the tragedy. 2 brothers held over gun seizure in St. Thomas. 2 brothers were arrested on Monday morning following the seizure of 2 guns in a police military operation in Willersfield district near Golden Grove in St. Thomas. According to the Morant Bay Police, the intelligence-led operation started around 5:30 a.m. and involved members from various units within the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Defense Force. During a search of a premises in the community, the team reportedly seized a .38 revolver and a homemade shotgun. The men, who were later identified as brothers, were taken into custody. Their identities are being withheld pending further investigations. Police say the seizure is part of ongoing efforts in the St. Thomas Division to uphold law and order. St. Andrew South Police lists 5 wanted men. The St. Andrew South Police have released the names of 5 men who they say are wanted for serious crimes in the division. 3 of the men are wanted for murder and 2 for murder and shooting. 40-year-old Courtney Ashley of 12 Abbey Close, Lee's Flat, Red Hills, St. Andrew, is wanted for murder and shooting in 3 incidents, including a double and triple murder. Ashley is known by the aliases Ashley Orlando Williams, Bloodstain and Biggs, and frequents Linstead, St. Catherine, and Akiwalk, St. Andrew. The police say he is suspected of shooting and wounding 3 other people during the incidents. He is also being sought for shooting with intent in an incident involving a police patrol unit. Contract killer found guilty in execution of hardware sales rep. A contract killer has been convicted for the execution-style murder of a man who was reportedly labeled an informer after allegedly alerting his employers to a fraudulent scheme that was siphoning millions of dollars from their Manchester-based hardware business. Jevon Winey, 33, was found guilty of murder and illegal possession of firearm after a near 2-week trial that ended last Friday in the Trelawney Circuit Court. The unanimous verdict came in the Duncan's courthouse after a second round of deliberations by the 7-member jury that lasted 30 minutes. The first round of deliberations, which lasted 1 hour and 48 minutes, ended with a 4-3 majority decision. Under Jamaica's Jury Act, jurors must deliberate for at least 2 hours before a majority decision can be accepted by a judge in non-capital murder cases. The victim, Deshaun Thompson, 25, a sales representative, was shot 3 times, including once in the back of the head, as one of the patrons died face down on the floor of a bar in the quiet rural community of Silent Hill in Christiana, Manchester, on March 5, 2022. Prosecutors Natalie Malcolm, a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, and Deborah Bryan, an Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions, led evidence that Winey entered the bar and ordered a cigarette. After smoking the cigarette, he pulled a gun and ordered all the patrons to lie face down before standing between Thompson's leg and opening fire at close range. He escaped in a waiting car, according to the evidence. No other patron was injured and the bar was not robbed. The main witness of the prosecution was one of the patrons who gave evidence via special measures. Murder cases involving the use of a gun are close to the public. Thompson's mother, Colette Bailey, said the conviction has restored her confidence in the police and Jamaica's much maligned justice system. If it were up to her, she said Winey, a suspected member of the Manchester-based Greenvale gang, would have to serve a minimum of 35 years in prison before being eligible for parole. His sentencing hearing is set for July 3. Bailey said she would also want answers about why it took her son's life and was it worth it. When you're on your way from Mandeville to Silent Hill, 25 miles to kill my son, it never crossed her mind how this was going to impact the family, she said, listing one of the questions she had for the convicted killer. Bailey acknowledged that in the past, she too had been critical of the justice system, even though I have not had any experience with it. I've heard people disparage the justice system, but let me tell you something, it works. I felt like I was important to the DPP's office, she said, making reference to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the country's prosecutorial authority. I feel like my son's life meant something to the DPP's office. Bailey singled out lead police investigator Sergeant Pat Wallace for his handling of the case. This one was sent from God. I felt very important to the police. JBN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.